Welcome back to Cornerstone Kids for this week. I'm happy to be back here again with you for another lesson. We can spend time together learning more about God and His Word. But before we get started, I thought it might be fun to show you my garden I always talk about. And when I was out there this morning, I took a little video of me walking through. I can't say I'm the world's best gardener. I'm learning a lot. There's a lot of things and issues in my garden, but each time I encounter a problem or something, it's just one more thing that I can learn from. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour.
Here are my tomato bushes. My basil's grown. Some critter's been eating my tomatoes. You can see they left some down there. I've got some cucumbers growing over there. These tomato bushes back there aren't doing too well. But you can see some nice red tomatoes I'll be picking. Over here, I have some peppers. This is going to be a yellow squash. I planted it a little late. Over here, you can see I have a little tiny eggplant. It's a smaller variety. Over here we have some more tomatoes. And over here, oh, looks like I have a few more cucumbers to plant. They're in here right now. I need to get them in the ground. But over here are some cucumber plants. Let's see if we can see any growing. Let me look up. I think I see one right here. Can you see it? There it is, right there. And this is a squash plant, which I am fighting the beetles for. I'm not sure I'm going to get any zucchini out of this one. We'll see. It's not doing too well. Can you see all the blossoms? There's something that's been eating at it. Oh, I think I found something. I'm going to have to look that up. Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to come out here with my spray. Spray a bit. Kill these bugs. Let's go down here. These are some zinnias that are starting to grow. That's my old spinach. See how it's gotten, looks like a tree. It bolted, so it's called. It's just not time to pick it. Down here is my pumpkin patch. It's not doing too great. This is my first year planting pumpkins. To check for little bugs and stuff under the leaves. The beetles love the pumpkins. So if we go down here, this is one of my big pumpkins. I don't know if you can see how big the plant is. It's a really big plant. There's a few baby pumpkins growing. Let's look. Let's see if we can find them. Do you see it? There's a pumpkin right there. And then we have another big pumpkin plant down here. And let's see. I don't know if we haven't... Oh, we do have a pumpkin. Can you see it? Oh, there it is. There's a couple of them actually starting to grow. Hopefully we can keep them. That's what they look like when they start. See them? The blossom right there, and then that's the pumpkin right there. So, this is my garden. Mr. Ballardell and I are fixing a lot of things up. We have our little pool over there. Mr. Ballardell is building a shed. If we go over here, we have some peppers that are growing right here. These are called shishito peppers. Can you see them? Yeah. Some marigolds. Over here, we have some oregano. And this big plant is called a pineapple sage. We got some more tomatoes over there. That's more sage. It's called garden sage. And this is chamomile. It has some really pretty flowers. We got rosemary. And let's see, over here, we have some kale. Kind of at the end, almost done harvesting my kale, but here's some that's left. I pick it and I love to eat it. Over here is a cabbage I am fighting for. You see all the little holes? Something's enjoying it. So I'm not sure I'm going to get much of a cabbage, but it's my first year growing them, so we'll see if that lasts. I have some flowers up there. So that's a little tour of my garden. I'm learning. I'm not an expert gardener, but it's exciting to see things growing. I hope you enjoyed this little tour.
I hope you enjoyed that tour of my little patch of earth that we have in the backyard. Maybe you have a garden of your own that you help your mom and dad with, and it's just so fun to grow things. Sometimes it can be a little frustrating too, and you have different bugs and such, just eating things. And I try my best not to use too many chemicals and stuff, so everything I spray is more natural. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get rid of some of those pests that are enjoying eating all my plants and such. So at least they're getting a good dinner, right, from all those vegetables. All right, so now that we've done that, let's get started on our memory verse. We're going to add on another verse to this bunch that we've been learning, and hopefully we'll have them all memorized by the end of the summer. All right, let's get started. Our memory verses for this week are found in Ephesians chapter 6, and we'll be doing verses 10 through 15. 10 through 15. We're adding that other verse on, like I said. All right, let's start with the reference as we always do, and we'll go through this twice. So like I always say, if you're not as familiar with it, you can listen the first time and then join as we go through the second time. All right, let's start with the reference. Ephesians 6, 10 through 15. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. All right, we said it once. Let's go back. Start with the reference again. We'll say it all over again. Ephesians 6, 10 through 15. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. Good job on the memory verses. I find it interesting as we keep on adding more verses that we can learn more about the parts of the armor of God. So we've learned so far about the belt of truth, and that was something a soldier, particularly a Roman soldier back then, would wear on their waist, right? But it wasn't really just to hold their pants up or something to look nice. The belt also had pieces of leather or sometimes metal that hung down over their thighs. And more importantly, it actually had a bit of a holster so that they could hold their sword. So the belt was very important. It gave them a place to keep their sword nearby, that they could draw out their sword whenever they were ready to use it in battle. So we have the belt of truth, and we have the breastplate of righteousness. Again, that's this area right here. It covered the chest. We all know there are very important parts of our body in there. There's our heart. We have our lungs. We have so many important parts of us there, and that was something that needed to be protected. And then now today we've added on shoes for our feet. And shoes are very important. Sandals they wore back then a lot, but something for their feet. We all know it can be very uncomfortable to walk around without shoes sometimes if you're outside, or for me, we have a lot of Legos in the house, so it is definitely uncomfortable to step on a Lego when I don't have shoes on. So shoes are very important in this battle, and what the soldier and what this soldier of Christ can put on every day. So far we've learned, like we said, the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, and now we're talking about the shoes, right? The shoes. All right, so we're going to get started on our lesson right now that we've finished our memory verses. I want you to think about all the things we've been learning the past few weeks about different struggles we might have, about different battles, things that we face. Last week we talked about Nehemiah and how he just about never giving up, and that he kept on with this task that God had given him to do to help rebuild the wall around Jerusalem. And God gave him success, and Nehemiah was faithful to God. So we've talked a lot about some of the things we face, and like any good soldier, we tell you, you need to actually have a battle strategy. A battle strategy is a plan that you have in place for when you're faced with something really difficult. Okay, so as Christians, we need to have strategies, it's a big word, to, in our mind, a plan for what we are going to do when we are faced with a battle. Okay, and today's battle strategy is to depend on God. I would like you to think of a really difficult situation you might be in. Let's see, you could think about maybe, what if you were out in the desert without any water? Okay, that would be a really difficult situation. What if you were in the jungle and you were facing a wild animal like a lion, and all you had to protect yourself from that lion was your walking stick? That doesn't sound like a very good situation, does it? They do sound kind of bad, right? You would want to have more things with you to prepare you for this battle. Well, we're going to talk about a story in the Bible about a king, and this king's name was Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat was a king of Judah who was in a difficult situation. He wasn't facing a wild animal like I had just talked about, or he wasn't even in the desert without water, but he was facing an army. Actually, not just one army, he was facing 3 armies. He faced the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Maonites. 3 armies. The Bible actually says that this was a great multitude. That's a lot of soldiers. And this was a big problem for King Jehoshaphat. The army of Judah was not strong enough to win against their enemies. They needed help, a lot of help. What do you think you would do if you were facing 3 huge armies of strong enemies? Would you be afraid like Jehoshaphat was? 2 Chronicles 20:3-4 says, "Then Jehoshaphat was afraid and set his face to seek the Lord, and proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. And Judah assembled to seek help from the Lord. From all the cities of Judah they came to seek the Lord." The armies of the enemies were stronger than the army of Judah. But King Jehoshaphat, he knew that God is stronger than all the armies of the world. He knew he could depend on his God, who helps his people. So King Jehoshaphat stopped. He stopped worrying and he prayed. 2 Chronicles 26 and verse 12 tells us what he prayed. He said, "O Lord, God of our fathers, are you not God in heaven? You rule over all the kingdoms of the nations. In your hand are power and might, so that none is able to withstand you. O our God, will you not execute judgment on them? For we are powerless against this great horde that is coming against us. We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you." King Jehoshaphat knew that he and his people were weak, but he knew something else. He knew that God is strong. God rules over all the kingdoms of the world and has all power and might. No army can fight against God and win. So Jehoshaphat looked to God for help. But he didn't rush out with his army to fight this enemy. He and his people stood before the Lord. They waited for God to show them what to do. The Bible tells us in 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verses 14-17, "And the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jehaziel, and he said, 'Listen, all Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem and King Jehoshaphat, thus says the Lord to you, do not be afraid, and do not be dismayed at this great horde, for the battle is not yours, but God's. Tomorrow go down against them. You will not need to fight in this battle. Stand firm, hold your position, and see the salvation of the Lord on your behalf, O Judah and Jerusalem.'" Well, then King Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah fell down and they worshiped God. They praised God for his power and his goodness. They praised him for fighting for his people and for being a faithful God. The next morning, the army of Jehoshaphat set out to fight their enemies. Who do you think Jehoshaphat put in the front of the army? Did he put the biggest and the strongest men? Maybe the men with shields, the men on horses? Who do you think? Well, King Jehoshaphat, he put the singers in the front of the army. They sang praises to God as they marched. 2 Chronicles 20:21 tells us their song. Give thanks to the Lord, for his steadfast love endures forever. And when these singers began to praise God, God started a surprise attack on the armies of their enemies. The enemy armies began to fight each other. So when the army of Judah got to the place where God told them to meet the enemy armies, all that they found were dead men. There was no one left to fight them. They thought the fight of faith to depend on God, and God worked for them. What an exciting story, isn't it? How amazing to see that King Jehoshaphat chose to do what was right and obeyed God, and how God showed himself so mighty over all those enemy armies. That is so exciting. And to see that King Jehoshaphat depended on God. This is such a good example for us to realize that every day we face battles and we need to choose to depend on God. And there are 3 things I'd like you to remember that will help you when you face battles every day and to remind you that you and I both need to depend on God. So the 3 things are stop, pray, and listen. Okay, so stop, pray, listen. All right, stop. When you say stop, I want you to think, don't just act. Don't just do what you naturally feel like doing. Don't just depend on your own strength. Okay, so that's stop. Next is pray. Pray. Tell God that you're weak. Tell him that you need his help. He is so strong. He is so wise. He can fight this battle with us. Zechariah 4:6 says, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts. God is able to fight this battle with us. So we learned stop, right? Don't just act. Then we learned pray, right? We pray to God. We tell God that we're weak and we ask him for his help and strength. And the third thing is listen. Listen, right? Listen means to depend on God to show us how to fight this battle. Okay, there's going to be different types of battles. So we need to listen to God to see how he wants us to fight it. Maybe God will help us with a verse that we've memorized. Sometimes a verse will come into our head, and that's what we use to help us fight a battle, to remember what we're supposed to do. We need to trust God to help us. The only way to know and to listen to God is to be in his word, to be reading his word. And if you're not able to read his word, to listen to someone reading his word. God's word is so important. The Bible says in Isaiah 64:4, from of old no one has heard or perceived by the ear. No eye has seen a God besides you who acts for those who wait for him. So those are the 3 things I want you to remember: to stop, to pray, and to listen before you act. These are the 3 things that can help us to remember that we have to depend on God in order to fight these battles that we face every day. So the next time something happens to you, maybe somebody cuts in front of you in line, I want you to stop, because the sinful self in here might want to push that person out of the line, right? Or to shove him and tell him, this is my place. You took my place, but I want you to stop. Don't do that. And you would pray. Pray would be asking God to help you not to be angry and to be patient, to realize that we're weak, that our response often is to say, hey, this was my place. Don't push me. Don't cut me in line. And then I want you to listen. And listen means I want you to apply God's word. God's word tells us in 1 Peter 3:9, do not repay evil for evil or reviling for reviling, but on the contrary, bless. For to this you were called, that you may obtain a blessing. And if somebody was cutting you in line, maybe that would look like that listening part of you saying, this is my place, but you can step ahead in front of me. It's very different. You see that? That's one example. It doesn't mean someone will cut you in line, but to think about that, to think about before you react, to stop, right? To realize I should not act right away, to pray, to ask God for his strength and his wisdom, and then to listen to his word that we should be putting into our minds and our hearts. And his word tells us how we should act. So I just want you to keep on remembering this. We all face spiritual battles. Adults, children, everyone does. But we all have the same answer and the solution. We all need to go to God. All of us, it's the same. For your mom and dad when they struggle, and for you when you struggle, we all go to God. God is there for all of us. And we just need to ask him for the help that he will provide.